Welcome to Mailman Center Grand Rounds. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Larry Friedman. I'm a pediatrician from Adolescent Medicine, and I lead the Lifespan Mailman Center IPC with Shelley Bear, who's not able to be here today. But this is the Grand Rounds for Lifespan, and we're fortunate to have a presentation by the Moya Foundation. Miss Liliana de Moya, who leads the foundation, suddenly had an injury and isn't able to come today to present to us. But we have Miss Caridad Gonzalez, who's Masters of Mental Health, and she directs the vocational services at the de Moya Foundation and is a mental health counselor. So we're happy to welcome you.
Awesome, thank you so much. So I'm really excited to be here with you guys today and give you guys a little bit of information about what I do and what the foundation is doing in the community. So I am the vocational services coordinator and behavior practitioner. And a little bit of backstory on the foundation. So Liliana de Moya is the one that started the foundation. She's the founder and CEO. And her driving force, I would say, behind starting this foundation would be her son, Alex de Moya. He has an intellectual disability as well. And so I guess for her, it was seeing day by day, the struggles and the barriers that there are in place for young adults with disabilities, and specifically with finding employment. So she started this foundation. She also started Panther Life at FIU. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Panther Life. So it is like an inclusive program at FIU, and it's mostly for young adults that have developmental disabilities. And so it's a program where it's a modified curriculum, of course, and then at the end they receive a certificate, and then after their certificate, they can come to us, and then we provide them with employment. So I'm going to show you guys a little video that can kind of give you guys more of a feel of what we do and why we do what we do.
People would ask me, how did I do what I did? And it wasn't about me, it was about him. He was my drive, my motivation. He was the one who pushed, because there was no limit to what he believed he could do. And we raised him that our house had no ceiling. And he was going to be able to accomplish everything and anything he put his mind to.
Not only doing a job here for de Moya, but also doing a job for Alex. And Alex has evolved into the person that you kind of like mold. So to me, it is the biggest of blessings, right? I get paid for what I do, and I get blessed because I'm able to help.
Alex, keep up the good work.
So when I was the transition supervisor for Dade County Public Schools, we would graduate about 3,000 students per year with disabilities, and that's just in Miami-Dade County. So the need is huge. Yes, it's possible for some of those young adults to find jobs on their own, and perhaps that they could stay in employment without the support that we provide. But for those that need more support, it's almost impossible. There are very few agencies that provide what we provide.
When we did the interviews, that was why it was very overwhelming for me, because I kept putting myself in their place, not only in the employee's place, but also in their parents' place. But all I have to say, or all I can say, is trust the process. Everybody's willing to help, everybody's willing to teach, everybody has the patience they think they might not have, but they do. It comes out, it naturally flows in people, and that's what makes the process so great. It seems to all come together and work, and that's what's helped us with James here. James has been able to fit in, but we have been able to fit into James' life.
At first, when I didn't know about the Des Moines Foundations, I was working from stadium to another stadium and to another place where I wanted to work at, but I found out it didn't go well, and then that's when I got in touch with the Des Moines Foundation and how they found me a job. I see it was pretty easy for them to help me to find a job, because if I didn't know about the Des Moines Foundation, I would still be looking for a job. a job to work at.
One of the things that I learned from the foundation and in my conversations with Lily is that the schooling and the education only takes them so far. And then they reach a certain point at a certain age where the opportunities for them are very limited. And it shouldn't be that way. And they're very capable of doing a lot of jobs that you need to have done.
I've learned a lot more stuff than if I would have done it by myself. My family loves this organization. My mom does speech pathologist, and she works with kids that have like autism, and she knows how it's hard in life. And my dad, he's happy about me getting a job and finding new friends.
And probably very early on in the conversation, we knew he would fit in right here. And we were so excited by the end that I think everyone was almost in tears when we were able to hire him.
After high school, like I want to start working, but everything stopped. But now it's like it's like a real thing here.
I will say that one of the most important things that I learned before we hired Carlos, and I'm very thankful for this, is that we were trained and my staff was trained on what to expect and how to handle this new position and this new gentleman. I think it would not have been fair to Carlos or the staff if we didn't have that training, and I think that that was extremely, extremely important.
A lot of people feel that maybe it's too ambitious of us to do what we do, but we know that they're capable of doing things. So we want to facilitate that, and we want to facilitate success and professionalism and see them grow as professionals and as adults.
What makes us different is the level of support. We're there from the beginning. We stay with them every day that they're employed. If we're not there on site, we're touching base by text, by email, by a phone call. No one else provides that kind of support.
Get in touch with the Des Moines Foundation can help you find a job, even though it can be scary at first.
Don't be afraid. That's all I can say. And you'll get the job if you put your mind to it and you stay focused.
If you want to get a work, then just you have to believe in yourself first.
Our journey still has a long path ahead. Every day we grow and make a difference in the lives of people with developmental disabilities by bridging dreams to reality. These children, who are now young adults, continue to overcome challenges and are some of the strongest and best employees you will ever meet. They have entered the workforce and begun a new chapter in their lives, all thanks to you.
Very comfortable with you guys stopping me at any point in time if you guys have any questions or whatever the case may be. So, as you know, we are committed to finding adults employment. So gainful employment, that means not just jobs, but careers that we know that are going to offer them full-time employment, 401k, benefits. And we provide that support to the employee, not only to the employee, but the employer. So we want to make sure that the employer is also happy with the work that's being done. And along the way, we're going to provide different kind of trainings to them. So that can be sensitivity training, disability awareness trainings, training them on how to work with a young adult, how to talk to them. And if they have an issue, come to us. We're going to go in. We're going to fix it. We're going to put in accommodations in place for them to be successful in their job. The Des Moines Foundation is a nonprofit organization, meaning we're not government funded. We don't receive assistance from the government. We do have 2 major fundraising events that we do throughout the year, that one being the Corporate Games. So the Corporate Games is a really, really fun event that we started last year. And it's basically kind of like a field day. So we have about 35 companies sign up, and then they kind of compete against each other throughout the day. And then we have like an overall, you want to say, grand finale. And then we have like our top 3 that win. We give them trophies. We had like performances. We had food. We had beer, and it was a really awesome time. So that's how we do some of our fundraising. The other part of the fundraising is the gala. So we have a gala that we do every year, and that gala is basically intended to honor the young adults that have maintained employment and also honor our partnerships. So, you know, when we start these partnerships, we want to make sure that the people that are partnering with us, their vision is the same as ours. And we're very particular who we decide to partner up with to employ our young adults, right? And that's to honor them as well for their commitment and their dedication and for them giving back to the community. So those are our two fundraising events, and that's basically how we have our donations to do what we do. So you might be asking yourself, who employs these young adults? So, you know, a lot of our young adults actually are working at schools. So Somerset, we have like 4 of them working at Somerset Academy Charter Schools. Some of them are working at law firms, so KB Mullen, VLP, BPM. We also have some working at engineering firms, so BBC, Stantec, TY Lin. And actually the 2 young adults that are working at the lawyer's offices, so that being Gaby Mullen and VLP, they're actually full-time employees now. And one of our young adults actually just started his 401k account last month, which was really, really nice. He bought himself a car for the first time, and he's 20 years old. And it's nice because he's never had any kind of insurance. So it's nice to see him receiving these benefits, and he's actually doing a really, really good job. So we also have a young adult working at cool places like the Miami Children's Museum, the Children's Trust, Tank Brewery. I don't know if you guys heard about it. It's a brewery, so they make beer. We have one of our young adults working there. Just at Ford Kitchen. So we have a lot of really, really cool partnerships. And they're meaningful jobs. So that's the whole point. We want to make sure that these young adults are going to have a career, that it's just not a job. So the Employment Initiative Project, this is something that we started, which is the support that we're giving the young adult, right? So this is an ongoing support. As long as a young adult is working, we are providing that support. That young adult can be working for 5 years. We are going to provide support for 5 years. And this is a service that's free to them. We don't charge for the service. This is something that we do as a result of the foundation. So we do something called customized employment, which is basically we try to match the skills of the young adult and the interest to the job. Okay, to make sure that this is a successful match. And there is a lot of benefits for the employer. So for instance, you know, the employer is going to receive disability awareness and sensitivity training. They're going to have tax credits and deductions. They're going to see more favorable by consumers. And so not only are they helping the young adult, but they're also receiving help from us. Benefits for the employee. So obviously there's a lot of benefits, you know, just the fact that they're working is a benefit in itself, but we provide really intensive job coaching. We're there from the very beginning to the very end. And I always say, you know, we are an employment-driven foundation, right? So we focus only on employment. But because we grow so attached to these young adults, we help them with everything. Like, this is everything under the sun. So we know that personal life affects work. So, you know, you're having issues with mom and dad, or you're having issues at home, you know, talk to me, let's work through it. And I feel that, you know, that helps them in their job, because sometimes it's like, why is he having an off day? And then it's like, okay, so talk to me, what's going on? And just a little talk, just helping them get through the day is really important, I feel. And also just helping them with appropriate workplace etiquette, you know, hygiene, skills coaching, and then just continue follow up after that, after we know that they're stable in their job and what they're doing. So recruitment. So Liliana to Moya, her husband owns a construction company, right? And so when she decided to launch the initiative, the employment initiative project, she first went to all the contacts that her husband owns. That being, you know, Kelly Tractor, Dobbs Equipment, lawyers' offices, engineering companies, and said, hey, I'm starting this project. Why don't you employ a young adult with a disability? And they were like, okay, let's do it. And so after that, it kind of just expanded from there. It was like, oh, I'm doing this with the Moya Foundation. Oh, I want to talk to Lily. Send me your info. And then it just kind of grew and it kind of just spread. So that's how we are recruiting employers. It's just growing. And so, for instance, Joe Bruckner, she used to work for Somerset Charter Schools and where Carlos is. And then as soon as Carlos started, it was like this charter school and that charter school and that charter school. So it was really nice seeing it grow. As far as employees, they come from all over. So, you know, community providers, sponsors, our board members give us referrals. Whenever I go to an event and I give out my card, you know, people call me back, hey, I know so-and-so, you get in contact with them. Project Victory is a really, really big one. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Project Victory, but it's basically a program where while the young adult is still in high school, they're going to different locations. Usually it's in hospitals, so Baptist Hospital, South Miami, and they're kind of doing like a half school day, half work day. They're not getting paid for it, but they're learning how to be responsible. They're learning different skills that can help them in the workplace. So once they're done with that program, usually the person that's in charge of the Project Victory program will reach out to us like, hey, I have so-and-so, they just finished, you know, Project Victory, I'm going to refer them. And also vocational rehabilitation. So we are a VR vendor, and usually VR will send us referrals of young adults who they feel are ready to be employed. So the matching process. We want to make sure that when we're placing a young adult in a company, we want to make sure that it's going to be successful. We want to make sure that the employer is going to be happy and that the employee is going to be happy. So there's several ways and assessments that we use to kind of do the matching process. So that being the self-assessment. The self-assessment is an assessment where the young adult is just answering questions about themselves. And then the job assessment is also completed by the young adult. What can they do in the job in the job site, and what can't they do in the job site, just to get a better picture of what their abilities are. The referral assessment is usually conducted by someone else. So that being their mentor, their previous job coach, a transition specialist, a teacher. And then after they've completed the assessments, they'll submit their resume. And if they don't have a resume, usually we'll sit down with them and we'll create a resume with them. And a letter of recommendation. Once all that is done, that is something that we can submit to the employer, right? And then we decide, okay, you know, this young adult is going to be matched with this company. So preparation. So now, you know, Lily already has done the partnership with the company, right? So now it's preparation for the young adult. The first step is usually the parent-employee meeting. So the parent-employee meeting is really important because there is where we lay out all the expectations that we expect to see from the young adult. That being, you know, you understand that you're starting part-time, but the goal is always full-time. The goal is always full-time employment for the foundation. And this can be an issue. That's why we always like to let the parents know in the beginning, because a lot of parents receive, you know, the checks. So disability checks. And so they get scared and they say, wait, hold on. You know, if they're working, does that mean that they aren't going to receive benefits anymore? And it's technically not the case. The young adult, if they're working part-time, yes, they are getting money in and their disability check will be lowered, but they're still going to be making more money than not working at all. When you combine the disability check with work, they're always going to be making more. So that's something that is always a concern to them. So we always like to let them know before they jump on board, hey, you know, your disability check might be affected. Full-time is always the goal. And just everything that we do, you know, from the beginning to the end, we like to let the parents know, and the employee must always be present for this meeting. So then after, you know, we do that meeting, then we have pre-training. Pre-training always occurs before an interview. So pre-training, the first 10 hours are divided into 2 groups. So the first 5 hours and the second 5 hours. We do anything from resume building to interview skills, mock interviews, searching for jobs, applying to jobs, application process, workplace behaviors. So we tackle all that in the first two sessions. The last 10 hours are very individualized. So if I see a young adult who's struggling with, you know, filling out an application or struggling with resume building, I'm going to bring them in and I'm going to work with them one-on-one. And I'm also going to see, okay, let me see what this young adult can do. So we have a filing system at the office that's just for them, where we kind of use it to see if they can file. We'll give them a Microsoft project. Okay, so type this up, 2 labels. You know, look this up, just to see where they're at. So that's the second 10 hours. And like I said before the young adult goes into the workplace, so the interview has already happened. We're already established that this young adult is going to be working at this law firm. Before the young adult starts, Lily is always going to go in and do a sensitivity training, disability awareness training. This training is intended to prepare the staff. You know, how do you work with these young adults? What words to avoid? What kind of language to avoid? What to avoid when working with them? And just to let them know, you know, we're here to support you. We're here to help you. If you have any questions or concerns, come to us. So power-ups. Power-ups is actually really fun because it's a meeting that we do so every first Thursday of the month. And we get all of our young adults are always required to attend, and it's just different kind of things that we talk about. So there's always a theme, right? Last month it was hygiene. So we know that young adults with disabilities at times struggle with hygiene. And we were seeing that our adults were struggling with, you know, getting to work, you know, appropriate, you know, dress appropriate. So we said, okay, let's do a power up and let's theme it hygiene. So we divided the boys and the girls into 2 separate groups. And then one of our board members did one for the guys. And then me and Jill, we did one for the girls. And that was really awesome. And we just talk about different things. So workplace etiquette, stress management seems to be a big one for our guys. Transportation. So transportation was a really big one because STS, I don't know if you guys are familiar with STS. So we were struggling with STS, and we've been struggling with STS because sometimes our young adults are getting to work late because STS is not picking them up at the time that they're supposed to pick them up, or our young adults are staying outside of the workplace for almost 2 hours because STS hasn't, you know, picked them up on time. So we did one on transportation. What are other methods of transportation? Let's talk about Uber. Let's talk about Lyft. Let's talk about bus routes. Let's talk about driving for those who want to learn how to drive. We gave them pamphlets on driving. We had a actually really nice power up a couple months ago, and that one was on sex education, where we had Dr. Marilyn Volker come in and speak to them about sex education. She even gave them condoms, you know, and it's something that nobody's talking to them about. So it was nice to talk to them about that. We actually started implementing Employee of the Month this year. So this month was the first month that we did it. And we picked one young adult who we think has been doing really well in the workplace. And we wanted to recognize him. So his name is Marcus, and he's been working for a human resources firm for about a year. And so on the anniversary of his year, he went and told the CEO of the company, I need to speak to you. I would like a meeting. So he requested a meeting with the CEO and told him, you know, I've been here a year and I want to know what can I do to improve. And we were like, wow, that takes a lot of courage to do that. And besides the fact that he's been doing really good. So we said, okay, he's going to be our first employee of the month, and we recognize him at Power Up. And so this kind of gives all of the other young adults that are watching motivation to say, okay, wait, you know, I want to be employee of the month. So it gives them an incentive to do better at work. We gave him like a little certificate and some movie tickets. So that was really nice. And not always are our power-ups going to be at the office. We always try to switch it up every now and then. So we've done power-ups at Sweet Life. Sweet Life is where they bake cakes, so we took them there. We baked cakes. We did a power-up at Ting Brewery where we did like team building activities, and you know, some of them drank beer, and it was really cool to kind of get them out there into the community. And power-ups are really nice also because they in themselves have made friends. So, you know, you'll see them on the weekends hanging out, going to the movies, taking pictures, uploading it to Facebook, to Instagram. And it's really cool to see them coming together. So this is our ongoing support model. Okay, as I mentioned before, so let's say that the employee is going to start. Before the employee starts, the Employment Initiative Coordinator is always going to conduct a job assessment. This is intended to carve a position. So when we're going to place someone, we're not trying to fill a position. That's not what we're doing. We're going in there and we are carving a position for this young adult. What does that look like? Okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to ask the supervisor or the office manager, what task happens in this office that nobody likes to do? So inventory, you know, keeping the kitchen organized, ensuring that the kitchen is clean and that the office supplies are replenished and that the kitchen supplies are replenished. You know, copying, scanning, distributing mail, running errands, refilling the copiers with paper. These are all things that people do that they don't like to do. So we create this position for this young adult. After that position has already been carved, the young adult is going to start. The employment specialist, which is a job coach, is going to go in and she's going to kind of just have an orientation with the supervisor. So what does a typical day look like for this young adult? So then the employment specialist gets trained on everything that the young adult is going to be doing first, because we don't want the employer to train the employee. We want to train the employee. And so once that happens, the day that the young adult starts, the Employment Initiative Coordinator and the Employment Specialist will go in together and do what is called the task skill assessment. Okay, the task skill assessment is basically asking the young adult, okay, so show me how you would copy. And if the young adult has no idea how to copy, we would say, okay, full training. And then we would go on to the next task. Just to get an idea of where they need help in. Because in 3 months, we're going to go in and we're going to do another task skill assessment. And we want to know how much progress has happened since then, right? When the employment specialist goes in and has that first initial orientation, we always create what is called a binder, an accommodation binder. And this binder is going to include everything. So, you know, your schedule. What does your schedule look like? Who do you report to? A directory of everybody in the office. Accommodations in the sense of task analysis. Okay, a breakdown of each task that they're doing. Because we want to make sure that once we start fading out, that the young adult knows what they're doing, right? So this is our model of our ongoing support. So you're going to see that here, the first 3 weeks, we're there every single day for the full shift. So for 3 weeks straight, this young adult is with the job coach every single day for the whole 4 hours, right? So then the 4th and the 5th week, they go down to 4 days a week. So although they have one independent day, they're still getting 4 days a week of job coaching. So then the 6th and the 7th are 3 days a week. So that's 12 hours of support. And then the 8th week is 8 to 9 is two days. So that's about 4 to 8 hours. And then week 10, we're hoping by this time that the young adult is fully trained, fully independent. And now all we have to do is go in once a week. Okay. But like I said before, even if the young adult is completely trained and independent and stable, we're still going in every week, at least for 2 hours, and making sure that they're doing what they have to do, just to check in. Okay, and so sometimes what will happen is the young adult will be employed for let's say five months, right? And this has happened to me before where, someone will come to me and be like, I don't know what's going on, but so-and-so is forgetting what they have to do, and so-and-so is not really on the ball, or so-and-so is on the phone, or so-and-so is socializing. So I'm like, okay, now I know that I have to go in at least 2 to 3 times a week and kind of stabilize them again. And you'll also find that the young adult will be doing so well that then the employer will say, you know what, I want to give them more hours, or I want to give them more tasks. Can you come in and train them? Absolutely. So that support is always there, and those follow-ups are continuous throughout the time that those young adults are employed. So reporting, which is really important because it's the way that the job coach is going to communicate with the director, right, and the CEO. So we do something called daily evaluation. So as you saw in the model, we are providing an intensive job coaching. So we're there all the time, at least for 8 weeks. Okay, they're not having their first independent week until probably 10 weeks from their initial start date, right? So we're doing daily evaluation. This is a breakdown in every single task and whether they've mastered it, whether they still need help, or whether they haven't mastered it, and then notes. Also, we're also evaluating them on, initiative. Do you have initiative? Are you getting to work on time? Are you dressing appropriate? Are you accepting feedback in a positive manner? Are you being honest? So we're also evaluating them on that. After that, we go down to a weekly evaluation. So we're seeing them every week. It's not every day. It's once a week. But we're doing at least a weekly evaluation, and we are submitting that to our employment coordinator. Then we have a satisfaction survey. This is completed by the employer. This happens after the initial 8 weeks, then the 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year, okay? And what happens here is that we try to obtain information on how the employer is doing and the level of support that the job coach is providing, right? And so Lily would then go and do the 3-month meeting. She'll go in and she'll be like, okay, I saw that you rated so-and-so here. How can we improve? What can we do? And so then we put in new tasks to follow, and we implement different interventions. And that helps us kind of stay on task and make sure that the employer is happy as well. Okay. Aside from our employment project, we also have a scholarship. So the Armando J. de Moya Scholarship was basically implemented to honor someone who really faced challenges in life with tenacity and grit and courage. And so this person is actually Lily's brother-in-law, and he passed away. And so to honor him, they decided to make this scholarship. And this scholarship is awarded to someone or to a student who is in need of financial assistance. And the student has to be a University of Florida student pursuing a bachelor's in civil engineering. We also have the Alexander de Moya Scholarship. And this scholarship is given to a young adult who has to have a documented intellectual disability, has to be 22 years of age, and has to be in need of receiving financial support. And the individual who's going to receive the scholarship has to be pursuing a post-secondary college, has to be going to school, receiving a post-secondary college transition program. So the Employment Support Fund, not only do the funds of the foundation help with making sure that the young adult is employed through job coaching, but also those funds are used for a lot of different things. So, transportation support. So as I mentioned before, the job coach is going to do a lot of different things with the employee. And one of those things are transportation support. So we do something called travel training. Okay, we've seen it a lot where young adults, they don't have cars or they don't have STS. So we say, okay, we are going to show them the bus routes. And so for the first 2 weeks, every day we're getting on the bus with them. We're sitting in the bus. Okay, you get off here, and every day we're doing travel training and making sure that they know what they're doing. After we feel that they're stable, we say, okay, now you try it by yourself, but I'm going to be in the car behind you, and I'm going to make sure that you're getting off on all your stops and you're getting on the correct stops. So we support them with that, and also Lyft and Uber. not typically to work, but to any community function that we're hosting that we want them to go to, we're going to pay for their transportation. So for instance, we have the gala next Saturday. Okay, we are going to provide transportation like Lyft and Uber to those young adults who we know don't have a means of transportation. Work attire allowance. So there's been cases where we've seen that these young adults don't have the correct attire. And so we say, okay, let's go to Marshall's, let's go to Ross, let's go get you some clothes. And so the foundation will provide them with clothing for work. We also have something called behavioral therapy. So we have a behavior analyst that works with us. And every now and then she'll come in and say, okay, you know, if we ask her to come in for a specific issue with a young adult, she helps as well. I also provide one-on-one sessions with our young adults. I work on anything from, you know, establishing independence to self-advocacy, stress management, social skills, you know, modifying their mood if they're depressed, and just other supports as needed. So basically whatever we feel they need help with. So that's about it. We're still growing. So we have about 30 young adults employed right now. And we have about 4 new employer partnerships starting now in February. And we just hope to grow and get bigger and continue helping those young adults who we feel need our support and keep on impacting lives. Do you guys have any questions about the model? Yes.
Can you tell us how your foundation is different than vocational rehabilitation?
Right.
What the differences are?
So the major difference is that, so vocational rehabilitation will place a young adult, right? Typically, the support is not there for an extended period of time. It's not a placement. It's not after 90 days, a young adult is stable and they completely fade out. That's not our model. We provide ongoing support forever. We're never going to fade out. And that's kind of what sets us apart from a lot of agencies, is that after a certain amount of time, they feel the young adult has been stable, and so they fade services, and in reality, we come to find out that, you know, after a couple of months, a young adult is either terminated or they take a task away from them because either they forget how to do it or they struggle and they really don't have anybody there giving them the support after the agency has removed the services.
One of the challenges that people with disabilities have is when it comes to building the resume, they don't have the work experience. How do they add to the resume?
Right.
One of the things that is suggested is volunteering. But
Yes.
is there anything else, like any ideas or anything like that?
Yeah, so typically that's what we do. Okay, we have a young adult, we try to find out every single thing they've ever done in their life. So what have you been part of? Okay, what sports do you do? Special Olympics. That's a really good one to put on these resumes, the Special Olympics. And then, like I said, you know, the volunteering. So Project Victory, a lot of them have done Project Victory, and that's a big one because even though they haven't worked, Project Victory serves as work experience because they're doing tasks that are related to work. So either they're, you know, distributing mail, picking up mail, running errands, helping around, scanning, copying, and that's really important because we want to demonstrate to the employer that, hey, they've had some kind of experience. So we try to add that into the resume. And then anything that they've done. I mean, I was working with a young adult not too long ago, and I told her, so what have you done? And I said, even if it's not employment related, tell me what, if you're getting out there in the community. So she's volunteered at different places, she's on the swim team. So that's all really good stuff to add to their resume because it shows the employer that they're out there and that they're being proactive. And that's what we want to let the employer know. I mean, some of these young adults, they've never been employed, and that's the whole point that we're trying to get them employed. And the employer understands that as well.
Do you have specific criteria for students who might apply to?
Yes, absolutely. So, the young adult has to be between the ages of 18 and 30. to be part of the foundation, and they have to have a documented disability, intellectual disability. Although we do support young adults with autism, and we also support young adults with Down syndrome. Okay. Typically, if we see a young adult who, let's say, has a bachelor's from a university, we have to ask ourselves, okay, does this person really need our support right now? You know, so we want to make sure that the young adults that are part of the foundation really need our support. And so that's why we have that criteria. So it has to be between the ages of 18 and 30, and they have to have a documented disability to be part of that foundation.
And as far as other criteria, do they have to be able to be completely like verbal and understandable, read and write?
So yes, they do, because reading so much, it depends, because there are jobs where they don't need to read. I'll give you an example. We have a young adult employed at Harold's Painter, and Harold, the painter, he paints, you know, he always has all these projects in Miami Beach and Coral Gables, and he paints these huge houses. So to paint, you don't really need to read, right? But they do need to be verbal. I mean, we're trying to see where we can employ them that they don't need to be verbal. I mean, nothing is impossible for us, right? So we're not going to tell the young adult, oh, you can't write or read, so you can't be part of the foundation. We're just going to try to see what job comes up that we can place them in. So that's really it. Yeah.
We're discussing wage. How do you guys participate? And if the employer asks for extra responsibilities from the employee, do you guys also argue for increased wages?
Yes, absolutely. So typically our young adults are starting above minimum wage. Okay, so typically it's above minimum wage, and we've had young adults start at $10, $11, $12 an hour, right? And that has a lot to do with the employer as well. So the CEO will sit with the employer and say, okay, you know, what can you afford to pay them right now? Let's talk about it. Usually they always start off at part-time, but so once we do like the follow-up 3-month meeting, 6 months, then we say, okay, you know, is this young adult, Lily will facilitate a conversation. Is this young adult ready for new tasks? Do you want to give them more tasks? What tasks do you have available to give them? And then we kind of work from there, and then we say, okay, so is it okay? Can we, you know, agree on giving them 2 more hours a day, 3 more hours a day? And sometimes the employer will be like, I want to bring them to full time. There's times when the employer has been like, no, we're starting them at full time, and sometimes we're like, oh, okay, and we didn't even know. Okay, so we always facilitate that. We always go in and advocate for them. Always. We always want to make sure that they are receiving, you know, the most support that they are from our end, and advocating for them and getting them those extra hours, getting them more tasks, and getting them more pay. So we do advocate for them for that once we do our meetings with the employer. Absolutely. Awesome.
Are there any fees associated with services that you provide?
Absolutely not. The service is completely free of charge for every single young adult that's part of this foundation. We would never ask them for a dollar. In fact, our gala, that's our major fundraising event, all those young adults attend free, every single one of them. We do not ask them to pay for their own ticket. And typically the employer wants to go and will want to pay for their ticket. So, but if the employer doesn't pay for their ticket, we always pay for their ticket.
Do the young adults express interest in certain jobs that you're able to accommodate, or is it the other way around, that you have the jobs that you place people into?
So that's why we do the job assessment and the self-assessment, because we want to know what they're interested in. So, you know, some of our young adults have been like, I want to work in a school, and we've been able to do that for them. We had a young adult who he liked music, and we were able to place him in a school and, you know, help in that area. And so we had a young adult that would tell me, I just want to scan. That's all I want to do. I want to scan. And we'd be like, okay, you want to scan? That's it. I just want to scan. I love scanning. And we got her a job that all she was doing was scanning the whole time. So we try to match them, because if we don't match them with something that they like, it's not successful. And so they tend to get bored, they tend to not want to do the job, and then that's a big problem. We never want to place an employee in a job that they don't like, because then everybody loses. We lose, the employer loses, and the employee loses. So we always try to place them in something that they like. We take that into consideration. And where they live as well, that's a big one. Yes?
In the video, in the beginning, I saw what looked to be, there was no sound to it, obviously, just narration, but American Sign Language being used. Do you have opportunities for deaf and hard of hearing as well as those with clear speech?
That's a good question. In the foundation, we really don't have anybody that has sign language or that knows sign language, and we really haven't had anyone come that has really been hard of hearing or deaf. That is something that we are looking into and that we will look into, but as of right now, we haven't really crossed that bridge, I would say. We do have young adults who, I would say, it's very difficult to understand them, right? Their speech, it's difficult to understand what they're saying, but we're really good with working with them and kind of just getting the hang of it. So, you know, when you're with a young adult for 3 weeks straight, I mean, you get to know them pretty well, and you know what they're saying. But as far as your question, we haven't crossed that bridge yet, but I'm sure that when we do, we'll figure something out. Thank you.
Well, building on that question, what about assistive technology? The person is unable to express themselves in a way that people can understand, because that could be an option.
Right. Right. So there are apps on the phone, on the computer, that help with that. So if the young adult doesn't know how to write, they can talk into the app, and the app will write it out for them. And so that's what they use. And a lot of times, you know, when we have a young adult who has a hard time writing, let's say that they have to send out an email every Friday for the kitchen to throw away, you know, like we have a young adult now who every Friday he has to send out an email. So what do? We draft an email and we just copy and paste. So that's part of their accommodation. So all accommodations on their computer, like, you know, these are your templates. So if you need to write this email for this, here's your template. If you need to write this email for that, you know that your other template is here. So we try to help them as much as possible with that when we know that they struggle in that area. And we're very resourceful, I would say. So we're always trying to find different apps, different things that they can use on their phone. We know that they always have their phone on them, different apps on the computer that will also help them with that. Awesome. Would you guys like a brochure? Awesome. And also, I added here like a sign-in sheet, so if you guys want to be added to our monthly newsletter and find out what's going on in the community and find out what young adults are being employed, we always send out emails letting you guys know who just got employed and what they're doing, and if they're full-time, if they're part-time, and what events we're doing also in the community. So if you guys want to sign this, you guys can, and I'm just gonna go around and give you guys a brochure.
And we want to thank Ms. Gonzalez for a very informative presentation about